Hello everyone, welcome back. We are finally live again. Today we are going to design the easiest SaaS landing page in the world, and I feel like this was the perfect video to bring to you today because SaaS is the most powerful, software as a service is the most powerful term going around in technology, especially for UI UX designers, web developers, and sometimes when you bring out a full SaaS video on this channel or on YouTube as a whole, it becomes really difficult to just grab onto every single principle that is from the advanced side of UI design. So I wanted to do the simplest SaaS landing page in the world. This design itself is from a couple of years ago when I was starting out, when I was doing my first couple of SaaS gigs, and this is going to be the perfect guide. This is sort of inspired from a real project, and it's going to be the perfect guide on how you get your foot in the door if you're going through SaaS landing page UI UX design in Figma as a beginner. So SaaS is something that freelancers and even people who are looking for jobs want to add to their portfolio as a level of expertise, and having the right SaaS in your project portfolio helps you a lot. Today's UI is super duper clean, super duper organized. The font that we're working today is a clean extension of the font that we looked at yesterday, so that's going to be an interesting thing to talk about. I love the way this one has turned out. It's like a very very simple UI, nothing very complicated going on as a whole, but it does have a level of appeal to it, a level of calm, simple e-learning appeal to it that you wouldn't usually find otherwise. So I feel like this is the perfect first UI to bring to you if you're just getting started with SaaS, looking for the easiest SaaS UI design ever. This is the tutorial for you. So let's just make me smaller on the screen and get started. This is what we're going to be designing today. It is like a simple, complete, very very detail heavy UI design of everything that we're going to be doing today. This is the hero section, and it's pretty cool because it has a bunch of essential pieces, every single piece that you'd want in your first SaaS. We also have the next description section, which talks about all of the different things that you offer with this SaaS, and then it also has the testimonial section. These are the three basic sections that we have, but we also have a bunch of other sections that I might add as we keep building on to this. The best thing about today's SaaS is it relies heavily on doing something out of the ordinary. So we've taken these hexagons and we're sort of taking the whole theme of blue and yellow because we're building an e-learning platform, and we're trying to build off of something like of those sorts. The images that we're using today, I'm going to show you, are from a bunch of different sources. So we're going to talk about how you can get your very own illustration images for purposes like these. We might not use these images, but this is going to be a fun video. Say hi in the chat. Let's get started. So in the beginning, there was a Figma file. Click plus and you can just find it. So just click on plus in Figma and you can create a simple new design file. Once that is done, let's just get started creating our very own frame. Let's go to the bottom, click on MacBook Pro 14, and with that we have our very own frame. Now the reason I use MacBook Pro 14 or MacBook Pro 16 from the right side when you're clicking on frame is because when you finally present your UI, you're going to be left with this nice laptop outline, which is something that you usually want when you're presenting this to clients, to people who have a stake in the company or any of those sorts. So with that said, let's get started. So I feel like the first and the most important element of today's UI is the hexagon. And the reason we're very, very focused on the hexagon is because you don't see a lot of these websites that are taking their design with the hexagon theme, and rounded hexagons are even rarer to find on the internet, which is what makes you stand out. It's a very, very clean, very, very clear approach that any brand would want, right? So let's just get started. The first thing you're going to do is go down to the bottom of the screen, and you're going to choose polygon from the shapes menu. Let's create a simple triangle, and we're going to increase this count up to a 6. So you're just going to drag the circle that's at the bottom up. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this a little bit rounded off. Again, the third thing you're going to do is make sure the width is equal to the height. So when the width and height are absolutely matching, equal in sizes, then you have this really, really nice situation where everything just fits and flows. All right, so I do want to talk about the color scheme a little bit. Today's color scheme is going to be blue and orange, opposite colors on the color palette, but it's going to be really, really fun to build. So with that said, this actually looks pretty nice. You could choose any shade of light blue because blue is the color of trust, and today's SaaS is all about the first landing page, the first thing you see right off the bat, and you always want trust to be there. Which reminds me of a really, really nice saying, which is blue is overused in UI, but at the same time it's overused for a reason. And this was such a nice thought in itself that I just had to say it out loud. Blue is a really overused color in modern web design, but it's overused for a reason. The level of trust that blue brings to you is amazing, and as you make these colors lighter, as you just duplicate them, position them wherever they need to be, you actually start to see how blue ties absolutely everything together. Now I also want to talk about the fact that the UI that I showed you today, this one was built by me a long time ago. I believe it was in 2023, which is not 2023. I feel like it was even before that, like 2022 or something. So this is a very, very old UI that I sort of repurposed a little bit to bring this up today, which is why the final result for this video is going to be a little bit different, which is fun. It's only improved. And now that we have these two very, very balanced options of rounded hexagons, I feel like now we can add another corner, which is going to be yellow or orange. So yellow or orange are colors that are opposite to blue on the color palette, and we are choosing to rely heavily on those just to make things work together. Rounded hexagons taking the sides is such a nice appeal in itself, and I feel like I just have to bring this to as much of my UIs as I want, because check it out, this is so peaceful, so calm. And once you've done this, I feel like this is the point where we can get started with our actual text. So let's just get another copy of this down here at the bottom. And this is a really, really balanced UI. This actually looks very, very calm, very, very peaceful, very, very nice as a singular UI as well. And you can move around the shapes to make sure the darker colors are together, and then the darker colors on the other side are also together. So this is a very, very strategic little point that you use to make sure a UI that's very, very specific. For example, a SaaS landing page which is on the platform of e-learning becomes trustworthy, because the thing with e-learning platforms is you're not just, sometimes when the e-learning platform is for really, really young students, you're not just asking for their payment, but also you're working with dual audiences. The thing with e-learning and just all of these student e-learning platforms is you're not just appealing to a student, you're not just appealing to the parents, you're appealing to both of them, which is why it just becomes a little bit of a tricky territory, and you have to navigate what you'd want to work with. With that said, this actually looks incredible, and I want to go to our next step, which is getting the name right here. So the name for today's brand is Region, and the font that we're using today is called DM Sans Display. So yesterday's UI was a luxury one-page site, and it was all about luxury DM Sans text, DM serif text. But today's font is going to be DM serif display. And the reason we're choosing to sort of shift those fonts around today is because both of these are two different sides of the DM serif family, and both of these are going to be really, really fun once you get the hang of using them on an actual UI. Alright, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to go to Iconify and get a logo. So today's logo is a little bit hybrid as well, but we're going to get it done. Just shift around a simple drop shadow just to make sure things pop on the screen, and I feel like this star actually looks quite nice. Just search for stars on Iconify and you'll actually find something that looks kind of cute. With that said, let's change the color to white. This looks awesome. You know what? We could change the logo family to outfit just to bring this into its serif era. I feel like we're using two different fonts today, which are going to be DM Sans Display, and also we're going to use outfit. So with that said, let's just increase the font size over here. I feel like today I'm just redesigning an old UI, and this is going to be a lot of different decisions that we're going to take in real time as we do this. Let's change the color to yellow, and I feel like we just should do a little bit to add this to the appeal. This actually looks quite nice. So when we've added a little bit of a padding over to the sides, I feel like this is already so much better than something we did in the beginning. This honestly looks quite nice. With that done, I feel like that's pretty much it. We could also add a drop shadow. I would want to see what that looks like. Instead of going really heavy on the y-axis, I do want to add a little bit of a blur. And check it out, this actually looks awesome. And I feel like we're going for a complete rebrand today, but we had to for some reason, because I'm just getting bored of the common, this is the UI, this is the thing we do kind of videos. And this looks like a really good addition to the stuff that we're doing. Make sure to add the display of show behind transparent areas, because sometimes when that doesn't happen, you do end up in a lot of trouble. But with that said, this is our first title and our description. So this was the first UI that we picked to redesign. I know it looks a little bit different, but it'll start looking similar really quickly. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a tagline. The fonts that we're using are set to DM serif display and also outfit. Should we just change all the fonts to outfit? I feel like we should. Let's just select all of these. You know what? I'll make it work. DM, serif display and outfit are the two different fonts that we're using, and both of them have a very different appeal to them, and we're trying to balance them both. So with that said, let's add a text box and say personalized. Wow. Let's add a text box and make it say personalized learning made easy. We're just using the font DM serif display. Personalized learning made easy. And I feel like I want to do two very different fonts in a e-learning UI, because this is one of the most common challenges you'll ever find if you're just getting started with freelancing UI UX design. And sometimes you don't get to decide what fonts you're going to be using. Sometimes fonts come with the client's demands, and when that happens, you are now with the challenge of balancing a font that looks like that to balancing a font that looks like this. Sometimes you're already given a logo which does not match the actual fonts of the website, so you're trying to balance something that looks sort of like that to something that looks sort of like this, which is when you'd need to use your true thinking caps, just figure out how to make things work. And with that done, we have our orange highlight on our text. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of a description. This description is also going to go back to our outfit fonts. So sans serif fonts are good for descriptions. Serif fonts are good for actual pieces of text. With that said, I am quite active on Twitter. If you're there, just go ahead and follow me, because it's just, my Twitter feed is just full of me giving you all sorts of UI design things that just I find in actual experience. Something really happened, something really interesting happened on Twitter today, which will be surprising to you. So this is the description that we were using. You can pause the video and type it out if you want to. I'm just styling this now. Going back to our story, we were on Twitter, so I was really active on Twitter today, and one of my dear friends, Marco, who is also a software developer, has recently started a Twitter community, which made me realize just the number of things you can't do if you're not on Twitter Premium. Like, the whole package of making Twitter Premium was such a move, and it's just because you can't really make a Twitter community without a Twitter Premium profile. I'm not verified on Twitter yet. I'm planning to get verified, but hasn't happened yet. And I am running this channel, and I so wanted to have a little bit of a community there as well, which was when I realized that you can't really have a Twitter community unless you're subscribed to Premium, which was really weird. So this is just some stuff that's just getting weird recently. Twitter, I really didn't think Twitter was having a lot of jail and sort of limitations before we actually started producing a lot of content, but now seems like things might change. With that said, we're going to design a button today. I have no idea why. I'm just doing great on the designs, but my brain's just brr with the talks. Let's change this to say start now. Alright, and now I'm going to show you the simplest way to make a button. The way we're going to do that is we're going to add a auto layout. Right click, frame selection, add an auto layout, add a padding to the left and right, add a padding to the top and bottom, add a fill, and you're going to change this fill to the colors that we've been working with. Blue is a good shade because we've already used orange in both of these areas, and now we're going to add blue to our UI. Let's just make this entire thing a little bit more rounded off, and we're also going to add a little bit of a width to the text today. and this is where I want you to test for yourself, is the color that you're using going to look better with black, or is it going to look much better with white? For our case, I feel like black does provide a little bit of a contrast that white could not, which is why we have this unbelievably pretty UI with us. All right. With that done, I want to get like a magical sort of UI design that works with our UI today. And I'm you know what, I'm planning on just getting one of these images from somewhere on the internet. So today's process is going to be how I get my actual illustrations. I feel like we're just getting too off topic from the design that we started with. Like this looks so much better, you guys. So I'm just going to click out of it because today's UI is much better just the way it is. This started off being that for some reason, but it's been so long since I designed the last UI. I'm just a much better designer. I'm just going to do justice with the video that we've started today. So since this is a live stream, since you get to see every single thing I do today, including the mistakes I make, I'm going to show you how I get my images. Today we're going to do AI generated images. Let's just go to leonardo.ai. If you're not signed up yet, it's like the best place to get all of your AI generated images. Launch app, and this is going to be an awesome one, because if I don't have credits left, we might run into a couple of problems. I think we do have some credits left, so we're going to have to use all of them credits wisely. Don't ask me why I generated this image. It's a weird thing right now. It's going on. All right, the image that we're working with today is going to be this one. So it's going to be an e-learning platform focused on blue and orange, and so we're trying to get an image for this. Let's just search for let's just search for girl reading a book being magical, orange and blue. I have no idea what is going to come up, but I sincerely hope something nice comes up. I because this was more of a impromptu live stream today, and let's see what happens. Usually the generated results are fine, and as long as you get a background remover, we get a good enough UI. This actually looks quite nice. I'm going to be honest, this looks like a nice image. Let's just download this image, and we're also going to go over to photoroom.com, which is the place where I remove all of my images. I know we just never go to all of these super cool places on the internet to do the stuff that I'm doing usually, and this time is a different time, so that's awesome. Let's let Photoroom take care of this. I feel like this is a much better image than the one we originally started with. You can also go to edit for free, and you can just generate all of the parts that you don't usually like, and that's just going to solve a lot of the weird background glitches for you. So we're just going to fix that as well. Let's edit this cutout, and we're going to erase this segment. I just hope it doesn't cut out the hair. This looks amazing. And now we're just going to shift this above, because Photoroom sometimes will give you a weird watermark, which is not something I prefer. So this is a good workaround to watermarks which you need to cut out immediately. Let's go over to previews and let's download our image. I'm hoping we get a good image. And now we're going to go ahead and press Ctrl-Shift-K and get this image out here. So I have now gotten our image, and it does not have a background. The background is white, in fact. Now, when you end up with a background that's sort of white, you have two options. Either you can go to Figma and ask it to remove the background, which is going to remove the white background, or you could just go over here and remove the colored background. So this is going to erase the background, change it to transparent. But I don't want to do the whole download thing again, which is why we're just going to use the one that's built into Figma. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Today's UI is definitely changing as we go, but it actually looks kind of sweet, which is why I'm just subscribed to the whole thing. Let's send this to the back, and this actually looks kind of nice. Personalized learning made easy. This looks incredible. I had not planned on this UI looking so incredible. With that said, let's add a little bit of a top navigation, because of course we need to add a little bit of a top navigation. So to do the top navigation, we're going to have a button at the top. Let's just copy and paste this button over here, bring it to the top, place it right here, and I feel like this is the point where we need to reverse the colors. So we're just going to change this color to black, because black and blue and yellow were the three colors we started working with, and those are the three colors we're going to work with. This has such a magical theme to it. The star, the DM serif font, and the whole thing is coming out to look way more magical than I imagined. So this is awesome. The next thing that we're going to do is add a couple of links. Wow, I just changed the page. We're going to add a couple of links. Let's just type out Olympiads and one-on-one coaching. And now we're going to reduce the size. I used to give a lot of Olympiads with my education, which is a nice fact to reminisce to. I have no idea why I put this out here on the stream. And we're also going to increase the size of this button a little bit. Let's just bring this up to 24. This looks nice. All right, sometimes it's a good idea to work with the serif font, the display font, but for most cases it's almost always wiser to have your own description font, for to have your very own sans serif font inside of your UI. Let's just add this over here. Let's just copy and paste this back here again, and let's just also add one-on-one guidance, because apparently that's also something we're doing with this brand. To the persons who started watching as this stream began, I know we're doing a little bit things differently today, but this is a much more improved version, so please don't complain. With that said, let's just change this back to 56. I feel like today's video is more of a redesign video more than anything, but also we're talking about the simplest, easiest ways to do UI. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a second section which talks about all of the features, and this is the point where it becomes important to have a couple of features right here in this video. If you're liking what we're doing today, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe, because we're so close to 1,000 people. It's almost practically visible from right here. All right, now we're just going to change this background to a blue or a yellow, any of the colors that we want to over here to show off the things that we're doing. I feel like we could do either. This looks much better, honestly, because you want there to be as much blue as possible in the beginning, because this is the point where you're building trust, and blue is the color of trust. And if you just rely on those principles as they come to you, you're going to be in a really good position. With that said, the next thing we're going to build out is a list of features, what we offer. And remember over here, even though the font that we're typing in is outfit, we need to change it back to the font that we started with, which was DM serif display. I feel like if we didn't have the serif font, we would not have the level of pretty class that we're working with today, which would have been a shame, but fortunately we do. With that said, the next thing we're doing is adding a stroke, just to see if this looks any better. You know what? It doesn't. It really doesn't. We're just going to get rid of it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add an effect, a background effect. This looks nice, and we're going to also add a blur to this, just so it is a little bit more visible of the background. The next thing we're doing is getting a bunch of features that we're making. Now, everyone knows the simplest thing you can do to build out a bunch of features is build out cards. So we're just going to build out a simple cards grid, go down to the bottom, create a new frame, and we're just going to make this bigger over here. Add a fill to this frame, add a border radius. All right, let's just shift this above. The next thing we're going to do is just round off this border completely. And also we're going to get a couple of images. So let's just get an image for what we offer. The simplest place to get images if you're looking for images is Lumi. Lumi is an awesome plugin which does specialize in building out highly AI based stock photography, which is actually kind of nice when you're just starting out with UI design. So we're just going to go over to Lumi and get a couple of studying sort of images, just to match the theme. All right, let's just see what it has. I feel like we could also go for illustrations, because illustrations is our current theme for today. And also we could change the colors just so we have something that actually matches what we're working with. Let's just do the yellow orange thing, and I feel like this could work really well for us. I want to do this one just to see what it would look like, and then hopefully we'll have something that looks much prettier. Check it out, it actually looks kind of awesome. The next thing we're doing is going to talk about everything that we offer. Can we add a title now? All right, we're going to add a title which is going to talk about what we offer. Personalized learning. Let's reduce the size of this to a 32. I want to do 32, and then maybe align them perfectly in the center. We're just going to align them perfectly in the center, lift them above, make sure to have auto width enabled, and let's just try 28 as well, or as a whole we could also increase the font size to go to the second line. So let's just try both of these and see what works. Let's just bring this to the next line, reduce the line height, And now we're just going to add this entirely to the center align the whole thing, align it inside the frame as well. And we're going to reduce the size, the spacing between fonts. Let's just bring this down to a -1. All right, I feel like this actually is coming together. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make another description box. So let's just go over here, copy this text, and I want to go over to chatgpt.com. Absolutely. And any AI text generator is fine as long as you're just getting what you need. Personalized learning description for website. Like, we're just doing simple prompts today, getting simple things sorted right up front. All right, and we're just going to get a couple of these paragraphs just so we have enough that fits inside of our frames. This actually kind of looks really nice, and we're just going to get this text down here, paste our text that we've copied from right here, and then bring it down, paste it back here again, and match all our styles. We're going to change the font to outfit. We're also going to change this to be a little bit smaller. Let's bring this down to 16, align it perfectly in the center, and now we have something that actually looks viewable, watchable, nice, and just something that fits really well together. All right, I feel like we have designed for ourselves a good looking card, and now this is going to be a reusable component that we can just copy and paste and reuse over and over again. So we're just going to copy and paste it once again. Let's just bring this right here, and I feel like we just have to press shift, select all of them at the same time, add a layout just to make sure everything is aligned perfectly, and then we're going to change these images. So we're just going to go over here, search for Lumi, and search for another studying image. I'm hoping to get more of these same illustration styles, and we finally have gotten them. So let's see what else we can find. Let's also change this color to blue, because illustrations for both our colors are sort of important. So I'm just going to add the search title of studying, change the topic to illustrations, and change the color to black or blue, because both of those are colors we need. And let's just see what it comes up with. I'm certainly hoping to stick to the illustration style of things just because it looks good and it looks kind of nice. This looks perfect. All right, I also want to search for plain black illustrations just so we can have something that's just really on the contrast for us. Or we can also search for plain white if that doesn't work out. Check it out. This actually looks insane. You know what? I feel like the black illustration style works a little bit better. So I'm just going to add that in here. This is just the real process of how I design actual UIs, what process I go through. Sometimes I'll find something that works a little bit better, and then there's decision making right on the spot. But at the end of the day, it gives us something impeccable, which I'm a fan of. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change these titles back up here again. What features could we have on an e-learning site? And I feel like this is where the UX writing part comes in. If you're focusing on UI design, UX writing is going to be a hectic headache for you. So let's just change this back to search for topics of e-learning website, just to see what features we can offer. And you just spit out the first couple of words that come to your mind. Interactive courses actually looks nice. I feel like I should add this. Let's just add interactive courses. You're just going to copy some text, right click, paste it here, and match our styles. And we're also going to copy a couple of the lines of text, and then we're going to paste those as well. So we're just going to copy those, bring them down here, right click, paste it here, and match our styles. And I also want to get another line of text. Hands-on experiences in a virtual environment. That also seems like something I would want to add over here. All right, let's change this text as well, and we are going to bring this down here to change it to personalized learning paths. This also seems like a good feature to add, and we're just going to go over here, paste the text here, and match styles. If you like what we're doing today, make sure to like this video, say hi in the chat, and if you're active on Twitter, type T below. If you're active on Twitter, just can you please type T below, because I have got so many Twitter stories to share, because I'm just weirdly active on Twitter all the time now, and it's just being the only thing that buzzes my mind recently. Why is that happening? I was never really very active on social media before this channel, and now that is happening, I'm active everywhere at the same time, which is awesome and also a little bit weird. Is anyone active on Twitter? Can anyone just tell me if they're active on Twitter? With that said, this looks nice. This is the first what we have offer card. I feel like this is the two sections that we've built. This looks like a very, very new age, very, very pretty redesign of something that was really, really old. I just had the instinct of scrapping the stuff that we were doing in the beginning, because this honestly fits the vibe of what we're working with so much better. Like, why would we go back in time to the stuff that we were working with when we can have something that looks like this? The next section I want to build out is a testimonial section, because herd mentality, believe it or not, is real, and having a testimonial section helps out get the social verification people need to sign up sometimes. So we're just going to change this to an orange section. Today we don't have a proper complete, very, very advanced website as we did before, but I feel like today we're just doing an easy site, something that everyone can get started with, something that you can relate to and brainstorm to and just figure out how you make things on the fly. All right, I feel like a lighter shade of orange could also work here, and I'm just trying to decide what works better mentally. You could also go a little bit light with the blue, but light orange is the winner. All right, now that we have a color for that purpose, let's also select this title, select this description, copy and bring them down here, and now we're just going to change this to say testimonials. If you guys send me names, I'll change them to whatever the testimonial people are. So I'm just open to it, just letting you know. Let's change the description text to say what people say about us. Speaking of what people say about us, here's something I have to say to you, the people. We are so close to 8,000 subscribers. Why are you missing out? Go get yourself 8,000 subscribers. Wow. Go subscribe to this channel today, and we'll all be a community of 1,000 subscribers. Why did I say that? I feel like I just cannot function on live stream today. This is horrible. All right, let's just align this perfectly in the center, and I apologize for the weird jokes. Let's also increase the font size a little bit, because I feel like a little bit of a description that's bigger would not hurt the UI at the end of the day. And then we also need to get a couple of testimonial cards. So to do that, we're just going to do wider testimonial cards for today. Let's make this a little bit wider, a little bit more fitting with what's going on the screen. And I want to do 2 main testimonial cards, and we're also going to make them a little bit more rounded off. With that said, let's add a little bit of an image, and I feel like every single element that we had over here is going to be reused, so it makes sense to want to copy and paste them and just add them over here as they come to us. Let's also make these images just a little bit smaller, just to fit the overall dynamic. And I also want to add a name for this person. What could be this person's name? Can anyone suggest a couple of names in the chat? I feel like I'll just get them from ChatGPT. Testimonial names and descriptions. Today we're just going very, very AI heavy and just seeing everything that we can do with the help of AI, and just seeing everything that can happen. So this is going to be a fun UI build. With that said, we have a couple of descriptions and names right here, so we're just going to go ahead and change them, paste here and match style. We're going to make sure this takes up the exact amount of space it needs to. And the next thing we're going to do is increase the line height a little bit. With that done, let's also add a description for ourselves. So we're just going to go ahead right here and copy a little bit of the text. All right, I feel like this is enough text for this use case. I do want to have a little bit of text, but not have it be too much. And when you want to highlight the stuff that you're doing, it's a good idea to increase the line height, make things a little bit bolder, if that makes sense. Change the colors, maybe shift things around a little bit, just to get the user's attention to the thing that you want to get the attention to. And word spacing, it can also be changed. It's not very recommended, but it's something that you can do if you're just trying to highlight the stuff that you're doing. So blue seems like a good choice for us in this case. And I also want to have a little bit of a longer description, so I'm just going to copy one more line, because there is a limit to the stuff that we can do in real time right here on this UI. And then I do want to expand this on a little bit. How is today's UI looking today? Can I get a feedback from the chat? Can I get 5-star ratings? Come on, rate this UI out of 5, because I'm making this as we go on stream. So this is a little bit of a different UI format today. I did want to try it out, because why not? This is more raw, more real in terms of the process that we do, and it would be nice to experiment around with this, the way we're making things on this channel. All right, I feel like we also need to add a little bit of the star ratings, and to do star ratings, we're going to tie this whole scenario back to our original star, which was in the logo. So this is going to be a nice throwback to the way we started things and the way they're going. So we're just going to copy and paste one of these stars, bring them down here, and I do want to change the color, remove the drop shadow, change the color to the orange or yellow of the stars. Check it out, this looks incredibly awesome. This looks amazing, and I do want to do like a 5-star rating. Can you guys rate this UI out of 5, please? Come on in the chat really quickly. All right, let's just copy and paste. Wow, I just copied a weird part. Why did I do that? All right, I feel like I'm just going to copy and paste this UI a bunch of times, sorry, this star a bunch of times, just to get everything perfectly aligned, just to get everything working really well with each other. And sometimes you need to adjust the way things are spacing between themselves, but at the end of the day, this actually looks like a pretty decent UI, and it is certainly much better than what we started with, which is a little bit of a shocker to me. So, lesson learned. This is a much more raw and real UI, and it actually is so much better than what we expected. So with that said, let's just see if we have the whole thing in here. I do want to have everything inside of our frame. This is frame 9, the frame of the card, and we're sort of trying to hide it and see if we have every single element in here. Now we're just going to copy and paste this a bunch of times. Can you guys suggest names for this section? Because that would be awesome. And let's just bring these testimonials down here as well. And we're going to shift these above. I feel like the star added a level of depth that we couldn't have added ourselves. With that done, I do want to add one more description. So I'm just going to go out here, and we're just going to change this to say Sophia Lee, university student. I feel like this UI is coming together impeccably well. So we're just going to change this up, add a little bit of the description. And I'm pretty shocked by how well I can do on stream without having any preparation of the stuff that we're actually making, because the original plan was very old and it looked weird and I did not want to do it, if I'm being honest. And this looks so much better. Like I'm just loving the way we've taken things in this new direction. This is a simple UI, but it actually is so effective. I love it. This is awesome. We're going to change these testimonials to real images because that would make sense now. Testimonials are not illustrations, they're real images, and the more real you go with your images, the better it is for everyone watching and for everyone reading your actual UI. So I do want to add a little bit of that. With that said, let's let Unsplash load up. Let's get a couple of images right here. So we're going to do person orange. Sometimes when you add the color that you're working with on Unsplash, that helps so much because it gives you an actual image of that exact color, which is nice. Let's also do person blue just to match the current theme, not to mess things up visually. You know what? We could change this image by a whole lot. When you have an image that sort of looks like this, you can always go over here, crop it out. Just shift this above and crop this image out. All right, and I feel like that's pretty much it for the concept that we're working with today. I do want to add a footer right here, so we're just going to do the quickest footer we can do. Just get the title, get the star, bring this down here. If you don't yet have these color palettes, these colors that we're using, if you ever looked at your own UI and wonder, why do my UIs not look this good? I feel like a good explanation for that could be your color palettes are not on point. So if you're looking for the perfect color palettes, I've compiled a list of the top 50 color palettes in 2025 completely for free. Links in the live chat and description. It's completely for free. So just sign up now and get your perfect 50 color palettes for this year. And I feel like that's just going to help you with your actual UI journey so much, even if you're doing freelancing, building out your own portfolio, whatever process you're on currently. All right, I feel like this looks kind of nice, looks very clean, looks pretty amazing. And I also want to add a couple of links to the stuff that we're importantly linking to, which is going to be in the links box. So let's just build out a simple links section. We're going to make this a little bit small and then just increase the size of the links that are inside, because sometimes it's more important to highlight the actual links than the titles, and footer link list is one of those times, if that makes sense. All right, the next thing we're going to do is obviously change these links to say social media, Instagram. Let's just copy and paste them, bring them down here, and I feel like this has to go in one of the fonts that we are working with previously. So let's just change these down to outfit, which is the sans serif font for our choosing. This time we're going to increase the size just a little bit, so this title actually starts looking smaller for us. Twitter /X, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and that's pretty much it. Alright, I feel like we should just select all of these, group them together, add an auto layout, and then select these both and then add an auto layout with them as well. And that's going to create for you a level of linked list that nothing else would. Alright, this actually looks kind of nice. Let's just align them perfectly. Copy and paste them, bring them down here, and just paste these guys once again. If you look at your UIs ever and wonder why your UIs don't look good, a lot of it has to do with color palettes sometimes. And to do color palettes, you can find the list of the perfect 50 color palettes of all time right here in the description, completely for free, also in the live chat. So just don't miss out on it. veerashrivastava.com is where you will find the top 50 color palettes of this year. It's limited edition, has 5 Easter eggs, and is going away soon, so don't miss out. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add a little bit of a description to the stuff that we would be building out. So let's just search for what lists could be linked in the footer with social. I'm making so many typos today. Social media links. Let's just see what ChatGPT comes up with, and sometimes this is actually really useful, saves you so much effort. So we're doing a bunch of these about us UIs and about us links, which are just really guiding to the story that we're building, our story, mission and vision. Let's just go back here. We could do 2 separate ones for mission and vision. Alright, the last one that we're building out today is courses. So I feel like courses is a good place for an e-learning layout UI to be. Let's do browse, featured, and one-on-one. Browse, featured, and one-on-one. With that said, this UI actually looks kind of nice and it looks incredible. Let's just present it and see what happens, just to see if it looks as good as we think it does. This is the UI that we've built today, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only redesign that's just completely awesome. I do want to open up the first UI I had just to put into perspective what we were working with previously. Wow, now you're going to see every single UI I've just done in the live streams, which is already broadcasted, so I feel like that's just useless now. But this is what we started with, and now we've redesigned this into an incredible, entirely new, fresh UI design with illustration heavy, footer heavy, modern feels, minimal feels, has blue, has orange, is much more approachable, looks much prettier. Which one looks better, A or B? Let me know in the live chat, let me know in the comments. I will see you again tomorrow, 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time, or 3:30 p.m. GMT, right here on this channel. So subscribe and I'll see you tomorrow.